I'm actually big into anime. No, no, surprise. It's one of my favorite things that I like to watch and consume, and I really want to cover more of that stuff on the channel because that's what the channel's about, is stuff that I like. And as part of that, I want to make a cool anime setup. And for the PC behind the setup, I've got an idea, and
It's called Hentai, and it's art.
so yeah, it's going to be the Pervy PC, if you will. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to have a lot of fun, and we're also going to like set up the whole rest of the desk and the Detolfs behind me. So yeah, join me for the ride. As with any build, I started off with the case, and for the case I chose a Thermaltake Versa J22. It was a cheap metal box with a tempered glass window, and it also had a DVD drive bay in the top of it, which I thought was pretty interesting. I started off by just measuring the back of the motherboard tray, and my idea here was to sort of make out like a motherboard tray mask to sort of cover up all that, like the back of the motherboard tray sort of area that's all sort of messy. And I ended up thinking this went really, really well. So I cut the shape out, and my idea here was to just sticker bomb it with all these lewd hentai stickers. Initially when I ordered these, I had like, I ordered from a few different vendors, and I thought I was going to get a really big variety of stickers, but it ended up being not that much variety. Like I might have had 120 like unique stickers. So I had to be really careful on how I tiled them to sort of make the design unique in the different areas. So I covered it up with masking tape just to sort of seal it, and I had to go just slotting it into the computer, and I felt like it fit really, really well. There was a high spot over where the DVD drives go, and I ended up just cutting that out with a razor, and it ended up looking really, really nice. With that done, I moved on to the PSU cage sort of area. It had a really ugly Thermaltake logo on it, and it also had like a window to see what cheap power supply that I had. So I ended up just covering that up with tape and just sticker bombing the whole bottom of the case. And I thought it ended up looking really, really good, and it was time to start gluing things down for good in the case. So I felt like I got it on my first attempt, and over in the bottom left you can see the high spot where the DVD drive is, just below my hand there. So yeah, I just ended up cutting that out for a razor, and it turned out really, really well. With the case cosmetics sort of finished and tucked away, I was able to move on to the actual internal components themselves, and this is where I had some really fun, dodgy stuff going on. For the platform, I had an i7-4770 CPU. It's a 4-core, 8-thread part from 4th gen. It's pretty legit, and I had it with this Chinese motherboard that's like a new old stock little one. It ended up being pretty good. As for RAM, I have this 8GB of Kilseer 1800 MHz memory. Jury's still sort of out on that one. When I got into BIOS later, I found out that it didn't run at its correct speed. I think that's got probably more to do with the motherboard or even the CPU platform itself. This motherboard also has an M.2 slot. It's configured for SATA, but I think it is also capable of NVMe, but you can't boot off it in that mode. So I opted to just leave it as SATA, and I had a Samsung 500GB like 860 SATA SSD for that. As for cooling, I had this Deep Cool AIO 120mm. I think it's plenty for a 4th gen i7. So, I applied thermal paste and sort of just chucked it on there. I tightened down all the screws and it looked like a pretty firm mount on there. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. With that all done, I just secured it in the case, and it was looking pretty good at this stage. That motherboard tray worked really, really well. I mounted the AIO radiator to the case just with a cheap LED sort of Chinese fan, and I secured another one to the top of the case as an intake. Off-screen sticker bombed this DVD drive. It's just a standard DVD RW drive, nothing too special. And with the extra sort of thickness and the texture of the tape on there, it was actually really, really hard to get in. But it went in okay, and it looked pretty good. So when I was collecting parts for this build, GPUs were pretty hard to come by, but I got a good price on this GTX 970. But there is a caveat. It does have this water block on it, which means I'm going to have to find some way to cool this thing. And luckily, I have another Deep Cool AIO from 6 years ago. It's a dual 240 rad, and I'm just sort of going to throw it on there with some bolts and see what happens. As you can see here, I'm taking the card apart for probably the first time in its life. This is always sort of fun to have a look at the board and stuff like that. And this is our first look at the die itself. Pretty clean there after I gave it a good wipe. So this is where I lay out my genius plan. You can see the 4 mounting points here sort of line up with these wider holes on the GPU mount. Open these up, put some paste on, spread it out so it actually covers the whole area of the die fully. Pinch some zip ties through, and if this image doesn't inspire confidence, I don't know what does. So yeah, I'm just going to sort of plop it on there and call it a day. Yeah, this is just maximum level computing. Like, you've never seen a technician do this shit. You can see here I fuck up and go through the smaller hole. I did that on both of them as well. So the right ones are on the wider holes and the left ones are on the littler holes. I noticed that after I secured it and just sort of gave it a good wiggle and it felt okay. Again, just impeccable attention to detail in all matters. So yeah, here I'm just securing the zip ties in an X pattern, keeping that mounting pressure pretty even on both sides. So yeah, even if just 2 on there, that looks really, really firm. So I did the whole 4 and I cut off all the tags. At this point, you might be wondering, Liam, what's the plan for the VRMs and the memory cooling? And rest assured, I was wondering this too, and I found these like shitty stick-on heat sinks, and I did my best job sort of making sure there's one of those in each memory chip. There was like spaces like under these barbs where I couldn't fit one, so I guess that one's just gonna cook. And for VRM, I'm just gonna chuck a fan on there and call it a day. So if that fire hazard taken care of, it was time to install it in the case. I had a few things to do here. I had to sort of cable manage the pump cable as well as the little 40mm fan cable as well. It wasn't too bad. And when it came time to do the AIO radiator, I found that it didn't quite match up with the original mounting holes. So what I did was I just sort of engineered my own solution. I installed this fan grill and zip tied it to these crossbars. And it doesn't actually just rest on the zip ties, it actually rests on the bottom hard drive cage. And it ended up working pretty well, and I thought it was a pretty elegant solution. With that done, I mounted the rest of the fans, and it was time to move on to lighting. Again, nothing special really planned for it. I just had like a cheap roll of LED strips off Amazon. It came with like a remote, and it's RGBW, so it has a dedicated white LED, I believe. And yeah, they look pretty good. The color tones weren't perfect, but again, they look good enough. The last thing to do was a bit of cable management. It honestly wasn't that bad. I'd done a pretty good job just doing it as I went along. And yeah, with that done, I just put the back panel on and gave it a bit of a polish, and I was pretty much ready to install it. So if the PC build actually finished, my next goal was to move on to these Detolfs. As you can see here, I've just been using them as storage, and the whole rest of my setup's also a pretty bad mess. But I wanted to make these nice and presentable. So the first step of that was making these custom light channels. Now, looking back, I think you can just buy kits for this, but I was all set in doing them myself. So I got these custom extruded aluminum like L bracket sort of things with a back panel on them. They're at like 45-degree angles. They come with these diffusers. I cut them to custom lengths, and it was my job to sort of solder them all together in a daisy chain and, just install it in the cabinets. This was probably one of the most in-depth soldering and electronics projects I've ever undertaken at this point. And I had a lot of fun doing it, actually. I learnt a lot along the way, and I think if I was ever to tackle something like this again, I'd be better equipped to do something like this. I had a lot of fun, really. And I'm interested in doing more stuff like this in the future. So yeah, after making 10 of those strips, I cleared out the existing Detolfs and started installing them. So the final results actually blew me away. I think they look really, really professional, and the color temperature on them was really nice, and again, just having lighting at all makes such a massive difference. I could not have been happier with these. There is some stuff to clean up though, like the cable work isn't the best, and there are some other issues with my Detolfs, like this one on the right's actually missing the side panel. But yeah, overall I'm just super happy with them. And just for anyone that's interested, my Detolfs actually open from the back, so the front panel is actually the back panel, and you can just access it from the rear and set everything up. It does make things a little bit difficult when you are trying to sort of set things up as they are facing you, but I think the overall presentation of them is pretty nice this way, because I don't really love the look of the Detolf doors. My Detolfs are also raised up on this Kallax bookshelf, and this is also where I'm keeping my boxes and stuff like that. How long that's going to last, I'm not sure. So onto peripherals, I had this keycap set that I found on AliExpress, and it's all of these like Agahigo faces. Yeah, it's a pretty cool set. The quality is a bit varied, like some of the keycaps are quite sharp, others of them are like a little bit pixelated, or the design's sort of off the center of the key, which is a real shame because like the quality is definitely there, but the design work is sort of letting the quality control down. And there were just some keys that like I didn't really like. Either the design was bad or, you know. But yeah, I ended up just taking off all the keys from the original keyboard and then just shoving these on. It was a bit of a learning experience because like I think I already knew this, but like the keys are different shapes depending on which row they go in. And it was a little bit just tricky working out which row these go in because they don't have a legend on them. So at this point, it was ready to start just tidying the desk up and installing things. The desk pad was something I was really excited about. It's from my dress up dialing. It's a custom print, and I've aligned it so it's like on the right of the mouse pad where my mouse is. That way it's not like covered up by the keyboard. I really hate when the like designs actually obscured by the keyboard. So I've set it up this way so it's really nice. It is a white mouse pad though, so we'll have to see how long it lasts. I do have a spare if I spill coffee on it or something crazy, but I don't really eat or drink at my computer that often. I don't think any anime build would be really finished unless I had some figurines inside the case. So I bought some cheap like hentai figures on AliExpress, and they are pretty much perfect. They're both the same sort of scale, and one's sort of just sitting and I can just position it on top of the GPU near the radiator, and it just barely doesn't touch the case sidewall or the glass. And the other one's got its breast sort of pressed up against a flat surface. I think it's designed for like a window or something like that, but I liked it just sitting against the fan here, getting blown by that air. So yeah, I think they look pretty good. I might opt for something proper in the future when I got a bit more money. Like I might actually like save up and get something that's a bit unique. So yeah, the build's all together now. It's been awesome to use. I've been using it for like my figure collection, anime forums, playing some games and stuff like that, and it's been really, really good. There are some issues and some stuff I'm probably going to be changing at some point. Number one is the lighting. I've got like 3 different color temperatures of white going on, and you know, it's just a case where like I bought all the LED strips at different times in the year and like from different vendors as well. And I thought I picked like all 5600 sort of equivalent, but apparently not. So there's a bit of a mismatch there. And then also you may hear the fans are quite loud. I just got straight Molex fans because they were, you know, just a little bit cheaper, and this was already over budget for what I was gonna, you know, willing to pay for it. And I probably regret that. You know, I'm gonna spend, you know, I probably spent $60 on the fans altogether, but I'm gonna spend another maybe $100 replacing them all now. So now I've spent $160 instead of just $100. You know, my bad. I should have known better. But yeah, they're the 2 things I would change. We're gonna do a performance section in just a second, but I just wanted to talk about also the hypocrisy and piracy of all this. Obviously, none of this is official licensed goods, and there's a lot to say for, you know, like ownership and stuff like that. I don't particularly care. It's not in my budget. Like, it was either I was going to do this or not do it at all. So I chose to do this. Obviously, if you can pay for work, you should. I'm gonna, like, you know, my conscience isn't that hurt by all this, and I sort of, you know, it's whatever, I've accepted it. But, yeah, there is definitely something to be said for actually buying hentai stickers from hentai artists, and same for the fake figures inside and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know, just owning it straight there, though. That stuff's stolen, and that's not that cool, but also don't care that much. So yeah, for the performance section, I thought it'd be interesting to compare to a Linus Tech Tips video that came out recently. He built I think an i3 4-core 8-thread system with I think it was either 270 or 260, one of the two. But that's sort of, you know, that's a low-end sort of system now, or a mid-end sort of system. And this would have been high-end in 2014, so I thought it'd be interesting to sort of compare those results. I think I've just gone for Halo Infinite, but let's just have a quick look at that. So yeah, this is Halo Infinite, also running at medium. We are recording in the background with quick sync video encoding. It's running a fair bit worse than Linus Tech Tips 1. It's running at like sub 60, low 40s. It really dips down compared to...
We've got Halo Infinite running at medium at around 75 frames per second. That is more than smooth enough.
Whereas my gameplay here is like quite a bit chuggier. You know, I probably would turn down the details a little bit, and if I'm not screen recording at the same time, I'm sure it'd make a huge difference. But you also got to keep in mind, he's probably screen recording at like 60 FPS, whereas I've got mine capped to 30 FPS. So, you know, a modern machine really would make a difference, but this one still plays. It plays, like... I gotta stop lying to myself. Just lying to myself. Damn it. Oh, but hey, you know, computers are just getting faster and faster. It's great. Again, this would have been a high-end machine for like 2014, 15, and an entry-level machine now is beating it handily. Anyways, that's enough Halo. Let's evaluate some Tittie games now. This is Dead or Alive 5. This runs on pretty much anything, but you can see it's locked here at 60. And yeah, it's like barely taxing my system. But yeah, it plays great. We've got Neko Power. This is I think the first one or the second one. And you can see here we're like in the high 100s. And we've got 5 girls on screen here, and we're not losing any performance. So, alright, we got 3D Custom Made here. It's another game that's really easy to run. And yeah, locked at 60. Pretty much all these games are VSync locked, and I can't seem to turn it off. But yeah, you can see it's barely taxing the system, and it's pretty much pretty tight. Yeah, I guess yeah, the system runs great, does everything I want it to do, and I've been really happy with it, and I've finally got a cool anime setup. Shit. But yeah, with that, guys, that's pretty much the end of the video. Thanks for watching it all the way through. This is probably the last big computer build I'm going to build for a good while. I've sort of got nothing else in the pipeline in that regards. I've sort of, you know, 7 computers is enough. I'll get by. But, you know, eventually I'll build something else. Like, I want to do a mineral oil PC at one stage. I've got parts for it, but I need to, like, save up to buy mineral oil and stuff like that, and also it's a big hassle to do that sort of shoot. But yeah, that's way further down the line. In the meantime, I'm going to be doing more anime videos. I've got figure unboxings and reviews to do as well, and I want to do more software stuff, so like, you know, anime games, and then also classic games on my classic setup as well, because I've got a few of them I want to talk about as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching all the way through. It really means a lot to me to share the stuff that I'm working on. Like, I would have been doing this anyways, but it's a real, you know, it's fulfilling to share it with everyone, and like hopefully something I've done here has inspired you. Like, I think in particular the back panel, like the back motherboard tray cover is a really cool idea. I think you could probably take that into any sort of sticker bomb scenario, or even just like a black PC. Just like, it just clears up that visual element, because like I hate all that like sort of ridgy metal in the background, and this ends up being quite I don't want to say clean, I don't really like that word, but it's just one flat face that you can just stick a bomb, so I think that worked out really, really well. Alright, anyways guys, I'll let you go, probably head. I'll see you later.